the tendency is to push harder,
Right.
we're going to get through it. We'll push harder. Just
Take all
just
that
work
stuff
through
and
it.
push
Yeah.
it
Just
down,
push it down,
harder.
work harder, work harder, work harder. And like I said, eventually you push so hard, you break. And that's where I found myself. The breaking point wasn't loud either. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't some cinematic rock bottom moment even. It was quiet. It was just exhaustion.
Welcome to Real Man Talk, discussing the tough issues facing men and their families every day. Here's Anthony Kernot and Carla Sau.
What's up, guys? Welcome to Real Men Talk. Today, I'm so excited to have a very special guest. Would like for you guys to meet Andrew Buckelew. Probably,
Hi, guys.
one of my oldest friends. We were sitting here talking about it.
It has been a lifetime,
years?
25 plus years. It has been a lifetime.
Yes, and really, I don't know why we haven't done this sooner.
I don't either. I don't
to be
either.
honest with you. But the circumstances come up, and we are. He's going to come in. He's going to tell us his testimony. We're going to talk. There's no telling where this conversation will take us.
25 years of memories to go back.
That's
It's
it.
no telling.
That's exactly right. So, Andrew, I want to thank you for coming on as a guest. And, I love, like I said, I don't know why we haven't done this sooner, and I'm 200 episodes deep and we're just now
doing it. Yeah.
And so, but I know that you want to share a story, your story.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to kind of give you the liberty to do so. I may jump in, all that good stuff.
All right.
But
you guys have to bear with me. I usually don't do the video part of all this stuff. I have my own podcast that I just started up and it's all audio. So I've got some notes that I'm going to be referring to. So if you see me looking at my phone, that's what I'm doing there. But, first off, I want to say thank you for having me, man. I'm so excited to be here and to finally be able to do this. And, I want to be honest with you, sharing my testimony. It's not something I do a whole lot. I just never have. It's never been a big forefront of my thing. But the older I get, the more I realize that men need to hear other men be honest.
That's right.
So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just be real tonight. And so I grew up in church. Faith has always been a huge part of my life. I believe in God, personal relationship with Jesus. I know the Bible, but knowing God and letting him shape you, those are two completely different things. For most of my life, I did what a lot of men do. I just tried to carry everything myself. You try to be the strong one. You try to fix every problem, shoulder every weight. You never let anything crack in front of anybody. You got to be that muscle. You got to be the strong guy. And for a long time, I thought that meant that I was doing everything right, because that was how I tried to live my life. For years, I operated out of that mindset, that my value came from how useful I was, and how much that I could do, how much I could carry, and how well I could lead. I worked hard, tried to be dependable, hold it all together, tried not to complain, dealt with all of my other stuff later. Never do that in front of anybody. You gotta be that strong front. And that was my default setting for a long time. And I didn't realize how much I was carrying. And then, you realize that life doesn't usually throw everything at you at one time. It usually adds everything slowly. It just kind of stacks a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, responsibilities of family, work, stress, and you don't notice the load is increased until it finally gives. And that's what it did. Life piled up. It wasn't a big dramatic moment. It wasn't one catastrophe. It was a slow accumulation of things over a long period of time.
Yeah.
A very long period of time. Health issues popped up that just sapped me of energy. Had some stuff going on there. Family struggles that required more than what I had to give. Mental health issues with kids, mental health issues with myself even. Trying to support family members through major surgery and recovery, and working full time, taking care of a house full of animals. And I say a house full of animals.
It means he has his own petting zoo.
Oh, it's, man, we've got dogs, we've got cats. I've got lizards, I've got frogs, I've got tortoises, I've got chickens, I've got quail. I mean, it's ridiculous, man. It's almost a full-time job just doing that. But trying to be present for my wife, also trying to be a good dad, trying to stay strong. And honestly, I was probably cracking a lot longer before I said anything out loud. That crack was happening long time ago. But men don't want to say that.
Right.
You don't want to admit that we're tired. You don't want to admit that things scare us or that we're overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I found myself. You find yourself, you ask, what do you do? Well, the tendency is to push harder. Just
right.
We're going to get through it. We'll push harder. Just
take all
just
that
work
stuff
through
and
it. Yeah, just push it down. Work harder. And like I said, eventually you push so hard, you break.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I found myself. The breaking point wasn't loud either. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't some cinematic rock bottom moment even. It was quiet. It was just exhaustion. Sitting alone and realized I didn't have anything left in the tank. Knowing that my family needed me and feeling like I didn't have the strength to give them what they needed. Feeling like no matter what I did, I always fell short, every single time. And I felt guilty. And then you feel guilty for feeling guilty.
Right.
And it's just a never ending cycle with that. And I found myself thinking that I thought faith meant I should be stronger than this. God doesn't let you carry what you were never meant to carry. Mm-hmm. And sometimes he'll let you do that until it breaks you. It's not going to destroy you, but I think he'll let you get to that point where you do break, just so you can look up, realize you were trying to do this by yourself, and that's not what we're meant to do. And you got to get to that breaking point so that he can rebuild you.
That's right.
I finally hit that point. I couldn't fake it anymore. I admitted that I needed help. I opened up to my wife. I actually did. And this is going to sound weird for a guy saying this, but I actually, on my own, went to therapy for a little while.
Yeah.
And I have a Facebook post that I share every time that I can, man, but it's okay to have Jesus and a therapist too.
Yes, it is.
They're there for a reason. And there are a lot of really good, godly therapists out there that are put in that position by God for that purpose.
The older I get, the more I value a therapist.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, the weight of life, just like what you're talking about, it can be so heavy, and, let's be real honest with you. I mean, we may even open up to our wives to an extent. Mm-hmm. Right. I mean,
to an extent. Yeah.
To an extent. Yeah. Let's be honest.
Yeah,
right.
To an
There's
extent.
Always that. There will always be that I have to protect her, even sometimes for myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so if you go to a place like therapy where there is no, I have to have this facade, right? You don't have to have it, and it can be very liberating.
I tell you what helped me with all of that too is going into a therapy situation like that and understanding that, doctor-patient confidentiality is real. And when you're in there talking to them, ain't nobody else going to hear this conversation.
Right.
This is between you and them and nobody else. That's it. They're not going to go out and talk to somebody. It's not going to get out. And it also helps when you have a therapist that you didn't know before that day. Complete stranger,
right.
Somebody you don't have a personal relationship with beforehand, that you can be open and honest and dirty and gritty and get all that out there, because you're not going to see them tomorrow. They're not in your regular life. This is the only time you're going to have interaction with them, is when you're doing this therapy session. So this is your chance to get gritty in it. And I don't know, that was just liberating for me, knowing that this is just me and you. That's it. That's all this conversation is.
Yeah. I got him off track.
Got me off track. Yep. But, I reached out. I went to therapy. I prayed a lot, but they weren't confident prayers. I can tell you that they were not confident prayers at all. They were broken ones. And they were the prayers where you're just like, God, I can't do this. I don't have it anymore. I'm empty. I've got nothing. How can you use me, man? I've got nothing. I've got nothing to give you right
now.
Yeah. And I didn't. It didn't feel holy at that time, man. It didn't feel holy. It felt weak.
Mm-hmm.
It felt weak. But looking back, I can honestly say, man, that was probably one of the most honest prayers I ever prayed.
Right. Yeah.
Just, man, I've got nothing.
Yeah.
I have got nothing. But it was for the first time in a long time that I wasn't trying to perform for God. I wasn't trying to be impressive. I wasn't trying to check a box or live up to some imaginary standard. I was just being real. And I really feel that's God. God finally met me there.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how God will meet you in that brokenness, man. And
that I think that God doesn't cause things to happen, but he uses them, right?
Absolutely.
And,
Absolutely.
I think that broken state, it's for us, especially as men, there's no more of a vulnerable state, right? That we can truly be molded, right?
Yep.
That you can truly be, God truly come in and be like, okay, I really do have this, right? And that trust that is built in that moment, right? Of course it sucks when you're in it, but then when you come out on the other side, you're like, wait a minute, this is God he was really there.
Yeah.
He was really there for me. I really made it through that because of God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can say in the situations that I found myself in, that brokenness, man, I'm not out of it yet. We're still a work in progress with that one. But he's definitely working on me, and he's definitely teaching me some things there, and he's softening my heart with some stuff. And like we were just talking, coming down the stairs, man, I'm 40 plus years old now. And I'm learning now that I got to slow down some.
Right.
I can't.
It's a harsh realization.
Man, it is. It is a harsh one, really, really harsh one, man. But the biggest thing that he's done for me through all of that is he's stripped away this idea that my worth depended on what I could do and how much I could carry.
Mm-hmm. That's huge. Yes.
It's still working on that one. That one's a hard one to let go of. It's a very hard one to let go of. And that's,
well, and I don't know that we ever achieve that completely.
I don't think we ever will.
I don't know, because we're built that way.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the same things that can hinder us are the same things that make us men.
Mm-hmm.
Right. The fact that we can carry a lot of weight, the fact that we want to be in control.
Yeah.
Right. The fact that we don't want to let anybody else down, the fact that we always want to look good. Right. These things are what drive us, make us ambitious and make us want to strive.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And in that process, I don't think God wants us to lose that. I think of the Apostle Paul, right? So when he was Saul, that same ambition that he had as Saul, going before the Sanhedrin and all them, and he's like, hey, listen, I'm your guy. Let me go get them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That ambitious, that drive that he had, it didn't change. Right. When he became Paul, that drive was still there.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm still there. Yeah.
It was just geared a different way.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what God does. He's like, okay, so we're not trying to get rid of who you are. We're trying to use you in a different path.
Yeah.
Right. And that's oftentimes that's where we find ourselves. But that different path is so uncomfortable that the only way that we will take it is to be completely broken.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that path, man. When we're set on that path, oftentimes I think it's definitely not a voluntary move on our part,
No.
but I just, in my mind, man, I see this picture of you just being broken, man, just laying on the road, just can't have anything left to give. And God just reaching down, grabbing you by the belt, picking you up and say, okay, this is where you're supposed to be.
Yes. Yes. That's exactly right. And man, it happens. It's happened to me a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. That's one of those lessons where I think even, and most men out there probably agree that's not a one-time lesson, man. That's one of those, when you were growing up and your dad, how many times do I have to tell you? That's God's the same way. He's like, look, man, come.
Yeah.
We just had this conversation yesterday.
Yes. Yeah. Cause it's one of those things that we get cocky.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, everything's going good. I got this.
Yeah.
I got this. Right. And then God's like, no, you don't. Just let me do it.
Yeah.
Right. Just let me take care of it. And you're like, no. I got it. Right. And then when we plunder everything, right. Or blunder everything, God's like, are you gonna let me do it now?
Like, can I fix it now?
Yeah. Can I fix it now?
And that's the great thing is even through all of that and all of our blunders and all that we do, man, he can still fix it. You're never going to mess it up so much that he's not going to be able to still make something great out of it.
That's right.
There might be 20 more steps to it now.
Right.
But it's still going to be great on the other end.
Yes. I think of, and I keep on pulling out historical biblical figures, but, I think of like Peter.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, anybody who listens to the podcast knows Peter's my favorite. Yeah. Right. Peter gives me hope. Right. Because if God can build his church on Peter, he could use me.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? Not that, I have just so many fails, but when I think of, I preached a message not too far back, and we kind of did a podcast on it, but the redemption of Peter, right? That process of Peter's redemption, because two people betrayed Jesus the night he was crucified.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Peter was one of them. And in Luke, it talks about Jesus making eye contact with him when the rooster crowed. Right. And I think that I don't know that I could ever feel that level of grief.
Yeah.
Right. For my own failures. Like, I don't know that can be topped. Right. But then in Mark, when Jesus is risen from the dead, I think it's chapter 16, the Marys go and the angel says something so powerful. He's like, go tell the disciples and Peter. And Peter.
Yeah, and Peter.
And then this redemption starts, right? And I think about how many times that I have blundered everything. And Jesus is going, and Anthony, right? Okay. We're like, yeah, you messed up. You owned it. Let's go. We got other stuff to do.
I've heard a story before. There was a speaker that was talking about Peter, and it fascinated me when he made the comment or helped me see anyway that Peter denied Jesus 3 times.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But if you go post resurrection, how many times did Jesus ask Peter, "Do you love me?"
Right.
3
times. The
redemption of 3. I mean, it's he made a point to, okay, you denied me 3. Okay, here's 3 also.
Yep.
We're even now.
Yep. And that's exactly right. and that redemptive process, and then God using Peter in such a way.
Yeah.
Right. And it is, again, I go back to, it gives me hope.
Yeah.
Right. It gives me hope. And the fact that we can blunder everything that we often do. Right. Because deep down, we're all morons.
Man, the greatest the greatest hope I've ever heard, and it was a saying that I heard. It said, when God called you, He's already factored in your stupidity.
You got that right. Thank God for that. Thank God for that. But the fact that He still uses us, right? This very podcast, right, is, oh my goodness, I have no right to be here, right? I have no right to be here, and the fact that we can sit here and glorify His name and share a testimony of God's redemptive power that is continuing to work. We are all Peter.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
we
absolutely.
all have to have that failure moment. And we all have to have that moment where God's like, do you love me? Then feed my sheep. Right. Do you love me? And you can get way deep in that. We're not going to right now, but there's so much that happened right there. There's so much that happened. But you are absolutely right. God gave him 3 opportunities. Do you love me? And it's funny because Peter almost gets kind of aggravated.
He does. Yeah.
He's like, that I do. And but God's like, hey, feed my sheep, right? And then the Joker goes on. His very shadow heals people, right? You go to like Acts and and stuff, and so our point in all of this is that even in failure, right? Even in failure, God's redemptive work is in play. Right. Even in, I also, while we're on the topic of Peter, I also think about, Peter's the only other person in the world to ever walk on water. Think about that.
Yeah.
He's the only other person in the world. Now, people often talk about, him sinking and, and all of that stuff, but he's the only other person in the world in history that has walked on water.
I often think of that too. You've got, like you said, people that are talking about how his lack of faith and him sinking is like, he still stepped out of the boat.
That's right.
I can't say that I would do that.
I don't know that I would either, but and so luckily God takes everything, right? He sees past our failures, past our insecurities, past our inabilities to process stuff, sometimes to learn, and he's like, I can still work with this. I can still work with this, and that brings so much hope.
Oh, absolutely.
That brings so much hope.
Absolutely.
And I think Peter's the best example of that. I don't know if you've ever watched much of The Chosen.
I'm not caught up. I think we did the first few seasons of it.
Yeah, I'm not either. But I remember in the first season, I think I'm 2 seasons in. The way that they portrayed Peter, right? And I'm like, I could totally see this, scrappy, high strung, really arrogant, takes the lead, kind of guy. And I'm like, this is like the perfect picture of whenever I read about Peter, I'm like, this is who he is, right? And I'm like, I'm that guy.
Yeah. I was impressed with their casting and the way they did all of it. I think a lot of that there was granted some artistic license in it, but I think a lot of that was probably pretty accurate.
Yes. Yeah. It was pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But yeah, man. And I love the fact, and there's so much more, and we're not going to get into it. There's so much more to your testimony.
Yeah.
Right. There's so much more there. And if you only if you want to. I don't want to take it away from you if you want to, right? But because we've been friends for so long,
Yeah.
right? And there's so much there, but I look at what God has done in your life, right, from the outside,
Yeah.
And I'm like, God has done a work, right? Let's be honest, you guys been through a lot, right?
Yeah.
A lot,
Yeah.
and the fact that you're still breathing, and people have no idea, obviously the listeners have no idea everything that you've been through, and we're not going to get into all that. But the fact that you're sitting here is kind of a testament all to its own, and it excites me, right? The fact that we can still have this conversation, that, that we, the Lord is still working in your life.
Yeah.
In your children's lives. And, and obviously we're all a story still being written.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, man, we have come a long way from two dudes playing Dreamcast on,
Man, Dreamcast. Wow.
on just a bachelor's couch like that. That's all I had at the time.
Yeah.
Just a couch and a TV and a Dreamcast.
Man, that was weekends, man. Out at your house, frozen pizzas and Dreamcast, man. That was it.
That was it. And Mountain Dew,
man. Cases upon cases.
But I do. I look at where we are now, and the way God has worked through, everything. And I see a plan unfolding, right? Obviously none of us know where it ends, but the fact that we can always trust that God is working, right? Is very hopeful.
Yeah.
It's very hopeful,
Yeah.
And, man, and I think that every man shares your story to a certain point.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a very common one. That's for sure.
And not common in like it doesn't hold value, right?
Right.
Common in the fact that we all struggle. We're really all the same creature.
Yeah.
In some form or fashion, every one of us is dealing with or has dealt with or will deal with the insecurities,
for sure. Yeah.
The trauma, the holding on to instead of letting go, the having to be broken. I remember there was a point, and this is just not too long ago. 2025 it sucked for us.
Here. Yeah.
It was funny. Dusty and I, we were talking the other day about, you see all these, these Facebook posts about, 2025 was this and 24. I was like, no.
I was done with 2025 by about June. I mean,
yes, 2025 started bad, and there's
20. It's honestly, it's been consecutively worse every year since COVID. I mean, 2020 that was kind of the turning point. It's just not got better since then.
Yeah, and we dealt with so much stuff in 2025, and I remember there was a point you were talking about, this your honest prayer, right? That prayer that you said that it was probably the most honest prayer that you've ever prayed.
Yeah.
And I remember having that moment in 2025. Well, I've had it a lot, but there's a specific moment in 2025. Early, it was January, and luckily nobody else was home. And me and God, we just had it out. Like I'm screaming, hollering, and you know, what are you doing? Where are you at? What are you doing? What is going on? Why is this happening? You throw your pity party fit, or I did, woe is me and all this stuff. And I remember that situation being so difficult. And when we come out on the other side of it, I was like, there you were.
There you were.
There you were.
There you were.
I can see you there. I can see you there, and you feel like you've been abandoned.
Yeah.
Because whatever the situation is terrible.
Yeah.
Right. Because none of them can be easy. And it seems like the older you get, like they say new levels bring new devils.
Yeah.
Part of me wants to advance, and the other part's like, I don't know.
I don't know if I want to fight anymore.
And but then I look back and I'm like, wait a minute, God totally brought me through there. He totally guided me through that. He totally saved my family through this. You're right, and so for that. I'm like, okay, we'll go ahead. Let's go to the next one.
Yeah,
and
as cliche as it may sound, with that. The best representation I think of that it's the old poem, footprints, the footprints in the sand, and sometimes there was one set. That's when I was carrying you. I've always thought it was funny because I've heard another variation of that before too, and it said sometimes it was carrying you. You see that drag mark over there? It was pulling you, kicking and screaming right there. But
Yes.
that's the truth as well. There's sometimes, man, it's God's plan is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
God's plan is perfect. And I don't know why we as humans, not just men, but we as humans have such a hard time accepting that.
Right.
The late great Rich Mullins, man, old songwriter, singer-songwriter. If you guys haven't listened to his stuff, he's an older guy, wrote Awesome God, great songs, man. That guy could write, man. That guy could write. But he had a line in one of his songs that just said, man, surrender doesn't come natural to me.
Right.
I would rather fight you for something I don't really want than to take what you give that I need. And I'm like, that's a punch in the gut, man.
Yeah.
But it's the truth, man. It's the truth.
Yeah.
The absolute truth. Yeah.
I don't know if I've ever heard that.
Sit on that one for a little while. Sit on that one for a little while.
Could you say that again?
Surrender doesn't come natural to me. I would rather fight you for something I don't really want than to take what you give that I need.
Man. That pretty well sums up my life.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's and like we said before, man, we've got those lessons that we learn, and it's like lesson learned, go to sleep, wake up, start over. We're doing it again. It's the same thing over and over on repeat. But through all of it, man, God's faithful, and he always has been, and he always will be. And when I mess up tomorrow, he's still going to be there.
Yeah.
And when I mess up next week, he's still going to be there. He's never going to leave. And that's comforting.
It is comforting. I'm part of this thing called Men Like Us.
Yeah.
It's a Facebook group, and we just recorded our second episode, and we were talking about faith. And the thing about faith is this grounding line, right? It seems neutral, right? It seems neutral because it's straight and it's almost right smack dab in the middle. But what it is that God doesn't change ever.
Mm-hmm.
He never changes, right? He is perfect. He is always loving. He's all of this stuff. And what happens is life does this, right? Mm-hmm. Good, and then it goes doom, right? Drags you across the bottom. Then it comes back up and does this thing. But God still does this, right? When things are bad, God's still the same. When things are good, God is still the same.
Yeah.
Right? And the fact that God does not change, the fact that he is always good.
Yeah.
He is always loving. He is always there, right? Is just as comforting in those high moments as it is in the low moments, right? The good thing is that he always brings us back to him, right? Sometimes he has to humble us, right? When we're in these good moments, we're like, I've got this. Look what I've done, right? He brings us back down to this level, and then sometimes we're down in the dumps, right? And he's like, no, I've got you, right? This is God, right? He's perfect, and he never changes, and that is so comforting.
Yep. I've said a lot, and with many conversations with other people throughout life, that you always get asked the question, why does God let this happen? Why is God letting this happen to me? I'm praying for this. It doesn't seem like God's there. He doesn't seem like he's answering. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Mm-hmm. And I truly believe that there are things in our life. God's not going to leave you. He's not left you in that situation. He's still there. And that may sound mean. It's like, well, why is God just sitting there watching me go through this? But I think there are times in your life where you are going to have to hit rock bottom. Mm-hmm. And that's just simply so when it's all said and done, God can say, okay, now that when we can get you out of this, you've got no other way to say, but it was God.
That's right.
You couldn't have done this on your own. And that's what I was trying to break you out of, is this mindset that I could do this, that I could do this, when no, you can't do this. This is a God thing. Right. And sometimes he's got to break you so that you can say without a shadow of a doubt, only by God.
Right. We go back to Peter and we think, people can so easily say, well, why did God bring him out there? Just let him drown. Mm-hmm. Right. God can bring, God, let him down. You could look at it from that perspective.
You could, yeah.
Right. That God put him in this situation that allowed him to go under. But again, I go back to, he's this only other person that's ever walked on water. Right. Mm-hmm. He did not drown. God did not leave him. Right. He gave him the opportunity. Right. And sometimes, and this is something that my mindset that I have been trying to change, that when bad things happen, and they happen to all of us, mm-hmm. consistently, right? I tell guys all the time in my men's group, life sucks, mm-hmm. right? Just life itself.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And then you throw in all the stupid things that we do. And then you throw Satan in the mix. It is impossible. Life seems impossible at times, but God. Right.
Yep.
And God allows us to go through these things because, again, kind of what we were talking about what started all this, this molding process, mm-hmm. right? Me changing my outlook is trying to look at it like this. Where does this hardship bring value to my life? Right. Mm-hmm. And what we don't understand is every hardship that we have does bring value.
Yeah.
Right. You can never win a victory without a Goliath. Mm. Right. You can never be saved without going under. You can never grow without uncomfortability. Right. As a matter of fact, just the last podcast that Kyle and I did, we were talking about this. You cannot have growth and be comfortable at the same time.
No.
It is impossible because when you are comfortable, you refuse to grow, right? Yeah. When you're comfortable, you refuse to grow. So you get put in these places that God's like, hey, I'm taking you somewhere.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I've got this. There is a plan put in place, but you have to let me do this. And then when we don't, right, bad things happen because, again, when I go back to, we're morons.
Yeah.
And God's like, okay, so let's use this we're going to bring value to your life. And sometimes it's not even us. Sometimes it's just life.
Yeah.
That
reminds me of something else that had been brought, in my studies that I've done, man. It says in Malachi that that God will sit as a refiner and a purifier of silver. And I don't know if you guys have covered this on the podcast or not, but if you actually look at the refinement process of silver, and if it's got to be put in the fire to burn out the impurities,
right?
To make it pure. And they say that if you leave it in there too short of a time, then it's not clean. It's not pure. But if you leave it in too long, it'll burn it and it'll ruin it. But they say that the only true way for the refiner to know when it's right is when he can see his reflection in it. So
that's good.
So when it says that God will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver, he's going to put you in the fire, but he's not taking his eyes off of you.
Right.
And you're going to be right when he can see himself in you.
Yeah. And that's, and if you notice, when you finally get past yourself, right? You finally get past yourself, and you finally get past all the boo-hooing and the pity parties and all of this stuff, and God begins
plenty of that.
God begins to do this work, and when you come out on the other side, I remember, and I've shared my testimony here before. I remember 2017, when I was going through all those head issues.
Oh yeah, I remember all that,
and it was terrible. It really was one of the worst seasons of my life. But I remember coming out of it, right? Coming on the other side of it. And the man that come out on the other side was not the same man that went into it, right? You want to talk about refining process. Over this course of this year, God, I don't want to say he forced me, because he doesn't force anybody, but it seemed that like there were impossible situations. And it was either or. You either trust me or you're going to lose everything.
Yeah.
Right. Not that that's much of an option. Right. But it is an option.
Yeah.
And I remember coming out on the other side of this, and I remember looking back and being like, God, you changed me in this. And I had this thought, and I've told people this since then. It really was the worst season of my life. But for the growth that I had, I'd go through it again.
Go through it again.
I would, and it was terrible, right? It really was. It was terrible. Not only the pain, but the loss. We lost our niece. There were so many things that happened in that year, and I would the man that come out of that. But we always have these options. You always have two options. You can either trust God, which is the right option, right? Or you can lose everything. You can allow yourself to come in and try to take over, you can have a pity party. You can do all of these things, blame God. You can do that, right? And I know many people who have, right? And then they become bitter, angry, the most unhappy people I've ever met in my life.
Yep.
Right. Or you can allow God to move in your life and accept growth. Right.
I've told especially my oldest daughter, I've told Abby this before. But I think I've told all of the kids at one point, but, man, when anything is happening in your life, when you're going through any hardship, never ask yourself, why is God doing this to me? Why is this happening to me? Instead, ask yourself, what is God trying to teach me?
Mm-hmm.
Your entire mindset will shift.
That's exactly right. What am I supposed to learn in all this?
Yeah. What am I learning here?
Yeah. And that's really where, and it really is a mindset shift, right? It is something, and it's something that you have to be intentional about.
Yeah. Every time.
Every
time.
single
every time.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's not in our nature to, oh yay, I get to learn in this, right? That's not how we work.
Unless you're a weirdo, but,
right? Yeah, or you're way more holy than I am.
Yeah. Right. Right.
But to be intentional about that, be like, okay, God, there is something here. As a matter of fact, we've been going through this season recently, and it's like, okay, God, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to be learning here? Where am I supposed to grow? What is supposed to be happening that you are cleansing me of something, right?
Yeah.
And it really will. It will change the dynamic of who you are, and it'll change your mindset. But really, this is 2 Corinthians 10:4-5, right? We don't battle against flesh and blood.
Yeah.
Right. But in the end, we bring every thought underneath the captivity of Jesus Christ. That's what we do. That's spiritual warfare. That's intentionality.
Yeah.
I was having this conversation with a guy, and I was like, man, I said, do you know how exhausting it is to intentionally bring every thought underneath the captivity of Jesus Christ? Every single thought. You know how many thoughts you have in a day? Right? You know how many thoughts I have that don't belong there? And I'm going,
wait a minute.
Those are easy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You're like, God, that doesn't belong there.
Yeah.
Right? But every thought.
Yeah.
And that's what it says. It doesn't say some. Every thought, right? Is this, you are to take every thought that you have and rub it against the word of God. Does this belong? Right? That is exhausting.
Absolutely.
let's just be real fair.
Yeah.
It is absolutely exhausting.
Have not achieved that, by the way. Have not achieved.
Me either. I'm probably better than what I was, right? But no, but just like anything else, it is a practice.
Yeah.
Right? It really is. It is a practice. And so, man, this has been a great conversation.
Oh, I've loved it, man. This has been great.
Yeah.
Why did we wait so long to do this?
No idea.
Man.
I have no idea. As a matter of fact, we'll have to do it again. So I want to give this opportunity before we land this plane. You've recently started a couple of podcasts.
Yep. So not getting into a whole lot of it, but right before Christmas, I've had some health issues going on for about 3 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And we've worked on some, it got better, then it came back and all that other stuff. Well, I ended up having another surgery the Friday before Christmas. So I had some downtime.
Mm-hmm.
So we were already shut down at work for that week. And then I had the next week off. Well, I'm on weight restrictions, can't lift this, can't do that. So I found myself sitting at the computer a lot. Well, on our way back from Christmas at my father-in-law's house, me and my stepson, Logan, we were just having conversations in the car.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I don't remember what all we talked about. It covered a lot of stuff.
Right.
And I can't remember if it was him that said it, or if it was I said it, or if it was Tessa in the car, but somebody brought it and said, this would make a good podcast. And wait a minute. Yeah, it would. You want to do that, Logan? You want to do that? So that was one of the ones that we had decided we were going to do is we were going to start a podcast together. And we did. We've got a couple episodes out. It's called Same Roots, Different Branches. And the basis on that one is myself as a older millennial, prefer myself as a zennial instead. Because I'm definitely not a millennial.
Right. I feel you there.
And then my son being a Gen Z, so we have different perspectives on things.
Mm-hmm.
But we grew up in church,
Right.
So that's basically the podcast that we're going to do is we're covering everything.
Right.
And we're going to cover the stuff that you're told you're not supposed to talk about. So
those are the best.
So religion, politics, social issues, But we're also going to talk about comics and
Right.
superheroes. And we've got an episode we just did not long ago where we talked about airsoft, because we play airsoft together too.
Right.
So we talked about that. But man, we're gonna cover all of that, but from different generational perspectives. And I also have already talked to my father-in-law, and there's going to be a couple where we're going to bring a third generational perspective into it also. So all
right.
three of us are going to sit down. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But while we were working on all of that one, I'm like, you know what? I could do this too. So I started a solo podcast as well. That one is called Manual Not Included. And that one, yeah, that one I'm pretty well just going to talk about the flavor of the day. A lot of it is going to be lessons that I've learned through projects that I've done that didn't go according to plan.
Right.
Some that did go according to plan, and some that should have gone differently if I had done them the right way in the first time. You know,
I've got a lot of those.
Yeah, but we're going to cover a lot of that, and then just where I'm at in life and lessons that I've learned, and just basically just stories.
Right.
It's just going to be stories.
Yeah.
And I'll probably have you on that one too. And man, we'll just talk stories and just things that we've learned throughout life. And it's there's definitely gonna be a faith background in it, but as crazy as it may sound, that's not going to be the emphasis on all of it. It's just going to be stories. Right. And you're definitely going to have the faith come in those, because that's a foundation of our lives. But it's just stories. That's all we're going to do. It's just stories.
It's awesome. It's awesome. Well, that's exciting. I'm excited to hear them. And you're just now getting started.
Just now getting started. Yeah.
And so,
so be patient with me as I'm learning this whole process. So, I think the biggest one that I've been able to do is like 9 minutes so far. Yeah. So they're still babies. So
yeah. So what platforms are you on?
Right now I am on Spotify and Amazon Music.
Gotcha.
But I'm still going to be working on trying to get it on other places as well.
Okay.
So
excellent.
Work in progress. Do have Facebook pages for both. And like I said, they're both on Spotify. New episodes planning on every Friday.
Gotcha. Well, what we'll do is we'll put the links to those in the show notes.
Perfect.
So that people who listen to it, they can go in and they can click and go straight to your Facebook pages, straight to your podcast.
Awesome. Appreciate that.
And all that good stuff. And so, but as we land this plane, Andrew, I want to say thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me, man.
And, I know how difficult it can be at times to be vulnerable. And, as this man, that's not what we're inclined to.
No.
Right. And so, but men, you're right. You started it off. Other men need to hear your testimony.
Yeah. I think that the biggest thought that I want to put as we land this plane is there's so many men on the face of the earth right now.
Mm-hmm.
I can promise you that whatever you're going through, somebody else is too.
That's right.
You've just got to be vulnerable enough to open up and talk to somebody about it, because you're not alone in whatever you're doing. You're not the only person who's ever dealt with this loss or done this or done this or done this. There is somebody else. You just got to be able to have the courage to open your mouth and find them.
That's it. And that's part of the point of our testimony.
Yeah. Is
to help others, right? Is to guide others out of this situation we've already been through.
Yeah.
And so, man, I want to encourage you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Share your testimony. Like Andrew had said, this isn't something he always does. This is not something that he's super comfortable with, but at the same time, he understands the importance of giving his testimony so that he can encourage you and show you what the Lord has done and can do. And so, like I said, as we land this plane, I want you to know, as listeners, that God loves you and he is for you, and he wants to see you succeed as a husband, as a father, as a leader, and
as a friend.
Yeah. That's right. And that you are important, And if you've got any questions, you can email me, realmen@palaceofpraise.com. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I think we're on X also, whatever it is, Twitter, X. I still get them confused.
Yeah.
But you can message us there. We'd love to walk through this journey with you. We'd love to pray for you, all of this stuff. And so, but as we come to a close, I want to end in a prayer.
Yeah.
Holy Spirit, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for the relationship with Andrew and I, this friendship, Lord, that you have built. And I ask you, Lord, to touch the ears of the people who are listening, Lord, that you will use this to further your kingdom, Lord, that you will give them boldness and strength to step out of their comfortability and step into vulnerability, that they will step into a place where they will recognize that you are trying to grow them, Lord, that they will accept growth, Lord, that they will understand that everything has purpose and that you love them, that you have not abandoned them, that you have not given up on them. Lord, I ask you, Lord, to touch them, Lord, and Lord, help us to be the leaders, Lord, that you have called us to be. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
You've been listening to Real Men Talk. If you'd like to get in touch with us, shoot us an email, realmen@palaceofpraise.com, or visit our website at realmenministries.us. You can also message us through social media. If you're a man age 16 and up and would like to be a part of the conversation, join us at the Palace of Praise every Thursday night at 6:30 p.m. If you don't have a home church, consider joining us for worship on Sundays at 10:30 a.m. and 6 p.m. Palace of Praise is located at 1400 Herschel Best Boulevard in Poplar Bluff, Missouri. New episodes of Real Men Talk drop every Thursday at 5 p.m. on all major podcast platforms. You can also find us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, X, and Facebook. Real Men Talk is a production of Real Men Studios in cooperation with Palace Media Services.